of documentation. This is the big problem with knowledge bases, and you get lots of information that's out of date, doesn't make sense, isn't complete, isn't relevant, and it's not helpful. So it's very difficult once you've got a big documentation system to manage that effectively. So what I would do at that point is I would start to create frameworks. So we talked about this a little bit earlier about naming files with a good framework, but there's loads of frameworks out there for naming things. So let's look at a lessons learned report as a good example. So when you finish a project, you create a lessons learned report. That probably needs to go in your documentation so you can refer back to it later. But over time, you're going to work with hundreds of these. So what you want to do is create a new document that brings all of the ideas together. So that's really good. What you can have then is the main document, which lists the main things that people need to know that you've pulled out of these other documents. And the other documents you can leave as outdated, and it's perfectly fine to do this in documentation. What you do at the top, most documentation systems have the ability to do this. You put it so it says that it's outdated, and then anyone looking at that document will know that this information is out of date, and that the instructions may not work, they may not be able to follow them. But the main document that lists the key problems, that document should be more up to date. So that's one way of getting around an excess of documentation. And if you're naming the things sensibly when you create the documents, it will be easier to find stuff, because remember, we want it to be the one place that people go to. And the problem is, if you've got 5 different documentation systems people are using, or it's in some Word documents or some SharePoint libraries that's in the middle of nowhere, people will not look at it. It's got to be at the front of people's face. They've got to be using it every day. So as part of your documentation culture, it's fine that you grow stuff that isn't relevant and isn't useful anymore, but make sure you can easily identify that stuff. And that requires probably somebody to kind of get a little bit of time spent just bringing all this stuff together. And the subject matter expert's usually the best person to do this. And as I said before, you don't need a 50-page, 200-page document about stuff. No one's ever going to look at it. Just take the main points. So if we're documenting how to do something, how to install a piece of software, we don't put, and then you press next, and then you press next, and then you press next. Instead, what we do is we just highlight the points where you need to make a change. And then it's fairly obvious for somebody doing that process for the first time what they need to do. And if they've installed software before, which I think pretty sure everybody has, they'll just click next on the points where they don't need to do anything. So that's it. Thanks so much for watching. And I hope this is helpful. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks for watching.